Welcome to my channel. This is room 313. Our story begins with a woman named Maya, a travel photographer who checks into a desert motel. When she arrives, it's late at night and the place is nearly empty. There are only two other guests staying at the motel, a trucker who's parked his rig inside and a woman who's holed up in room 313. The manager gives Maya the keys to her room and warns her under no uncertain terms not to go anywhere near room 313. Something about that room just creeps me out. I don't know what it is, but if it were me, I would have asked to see the room. But instead, Maya just decides to check out her room. And this is where things get interesting. On the bed is an old Polaroid camera. And if I've ever seen a plot device before in my life, this is one of them. This is obviously some kind of red herring, something to distract her from whatever is actually going on in that room. But she doesn't know that. As she examines the camera, she notices it's the same model as the one she has at home, except this one is much older, and the lens is cracked. She swears she didn't see it when she walked in, and her gut tells her that it wasn't there. Of course, she didn't put it there, but the question is, who did? And the answer is probably lurking somewhere in room 313. But for now, it's too dark to go exploring. So instead, she snaps a test photo. And when it prints, she gets a good laugh out of it. It looks like an old abandoned house. But then she notices the distinct outline of a shadowy figure standing right behind her. But when she turned around, no one was there. Okay. Maybe this place is a little less Travelodge and a little more haunted. At night, she hears the sound of soft knocking coming from behind her wall. Then she hears a raspy whisper, "Still here." Well, I guess that answers the question of who left the camera in her room. It was still here. Whoever still here is, it sounds pretty lonely. So before she goes to sleep, she takes a picture of the closet. That way she can look back on it and be like, yeah, that was crazy. Or in this case, she could look back on it and be like, oh God, why did I do this? Because the more she learns about this place and its history, the more she realizes she might want to run away screaming. In the motel lobby, she finds a copy of the local newspaper, which mentions how the motel used to be a mental hospital back in the 70s. The article specifically mentions a tragic incident in 1974 where a woman named Lena, who had been in solitary confinement in room 313, died during a botched experimental therapy session. According to the records, the doctors kept her locked in for over 3 weeks until she went insane. Now, the true story may have been buried in the recesses of the hospital, but the walls are whispering it to her. She found a set of motel blueprints that confirmed room 313 was indeed a solitary confinement unit. It was square, barren, and soundproof. No windows, no furniture, nothing but a door. She wondered what kind of person would be locked up in such a small box, what they would do, what they would think, how they would feel. She couldn't possibly imagine. But the thing she felt most of all was curiosity. And against her better judgment, she decided to investigate. But first, she needed to find out who Lena was. She began by snapping photos of the motel exterior and the surrounding area. Each shot revealed nothing but the vast emptiness of the desert. But when she developed the film, something terrifying emerged. Every photo showed a ghostly presence looming over her shoulder. At first, the specter was faint, just a wisp at the edge of the frame. But with each click of the shutter, the apparition grew clearer, more solid. And the scarier it became, the more her own reflection seemed to fade away, her eyes growing darker and her lips moving out of sync. Then one night as she slept, she heard the door to room 313 unseal itself. She woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hall and turned on the light to see the long, narrow corridor stretching endlessly before her. The sight sent chills down her spine. The wallpaper peeled away from the walls, revealing the dry, cracked plaster beneath. and the flickering light cast grotesque shadows that danced and twisted on the floor. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay and despair. And as she stared down the hallway, she saw a bloody handprint materialize on her camera. She dropped it in terror as a guttural voice whispered in her ear, "Get away." Despite the warning, Maya's morbid curiosity got the best of her, and she started walking towards the room. The further she ventured, the louder the scratching became, as if someone were clawing to get out. Just as she reached the end of the hall, the scratching stopped abruptly, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. She stood before room 313, its paint peeling and the brass numbers dulled as if to hide their significance. Taking a deep breath, she reached out and knocked on the door. 3 knocks, one after the other, followed by a pause. Then another 3 knocks, even more frantic than before. She waited, holding her breath, but only silence answered her. Disappointment washed over her. Had she imagined the whole thing? Was she really about to tell the police that she saw a ghost in a haunted room? But then something caught her eye. A tiny sliver of light peeked out from under the door, barely visible, yet undeniably there. Hesitantly, she pushed the door open. As it swung inward, a musty smell wafted out, bringing with it a sense of dread and despair. The room was dark, lit only by a single shaft of moonlight that pierced through a crack in the boarded-up window. In the center stood an old wooden chest, its surface covered in dust and cobwebs. As Maya stepped inside, she felt an overwhelming sense of sadness wash over her, as if the very walls were weeping. With trembling hands, she lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of personal belongings, a diary, a comb, a locket containing a faded photograph. They belonged to Lena, the woman who had died here all those years ago. As she looked around the room, she saw flashes of Lena's final days, her footsteps echoing in the silence, heard her whispers as she talked to the camera. She saw her anger, her fear, her descent into madness. Then suddenly, Lena appeared behind her, her eyes wide and filled with terror. "Don't," she cried, reaching out a hand as she began to take Maya's form. "Don't let it consume you." Desperately, Maya struggled, but it was no use. Lena's spirit was too strong. Just as she lost consciousness, she saw the camera lying on the floor, its lens staring up at her like a malevolent eye. With a surge of adrenaline, she lunged for it, snatched it up, and held it tight. "Help me," she whispered, knowing that the only way to stop Lena from possessing her was to destroy the camera. As she brought the camera close, she could feel Lena's spirit burning away, her screams echoing in her ears. Maya closed her eyes, and with shaking hands, she lit the match. The flame spread quickly, consuming the camera and banishing Lena's spirit forever. With a final burst of energy, she stumbled out of the room, collapsing onto the floor just as it burned to the ground. Maya wakes up outside the motel with the camera in her lap. Disoriented, she sits up and realizes the motel is gone, vanished without a trace. All that remains is an endless expanse of desert. She looks down at the camera, its body charred and lifeless. As she flips it open, she sees the last photo she took. Uploading it to her site, she adds a caption, "My latest shoot at the abandoned Desert Pines Motel. What a find." Then in the comments section, someone writes, "Who's the girl standing behind you?" Click here to watch one of these next videos and let me know what you think. Did Maya escape the motel, or did she inherit it? Comment below.